They said you can't come home again, but here I am. And if you thought the president hated Jimmy Kimmel Live when it was hosted by Jimmy Kimmel, buckle up, people, buckle up.
Rosie O'Donnell making a rare return to television, where she exercised her First Amendment rights that we have in this country. She is a longtime Trump foe. The president has threatened and attacked her in all sorts of ways, and yet here she is. It is obviously quite symbolic, but also literally powerful when it comes to the role of the free press and free speech in this country, which spans from the serious to the comedic to the cultural, as we've covered, that she is there for Jimmy Kimmel, who successfully fought back Trump's efforts to censor him through the abuse of government power. Now, Rosie made her own choice to actually move to Ireland days before Trump's second inauguration.
I've been living in Ireland for the past 2 years because of Mango Mussolini. I read that Project 2025 and said, gotta get myself out of here, you know? And I decided to go to Ireland, a place where people are driven to drink regardless of who's running their country.
O'Donnell discussing her own recent history, her political sort of situation, while also doing what she and Kimmel do so well that makes them such potent foes to this president who can't take a joke, mixing in a little humor. But this is also in the news tonight because of a wider development. ABC fighting back against those efforts to censor and bully and abuse power against Kimmel and other ABC programming. So ABC's filed this new lawsuit against the Trump FCC over their threats and retaliation campaign to potentially try to force some stations off the air. ABC, coming out swinging, says the Trump FCC is waging this retaliatory campaign for one reason. The Trump administration, quote, disapproves of ABC's editorial choices. The suit also says these ABC stations have no choice but to seek judicial protection against this Trump FCC's assault on their, quote, right to speak. And that's what this comes down to. We have never seen the Federal Communications Commission blatantly abused in this way, with its leadership and, of course, the president above it admitting the plot. Here is the Trump FCC chair.
I'd be surprised if we ultimately don't go down the path of license revocation for some.
President Trump is fundamentally reshaping the entire media ecosystem.
Look at the changes over the last couple of years that I think are attributable to Trump running at the fake news media. You've got NPR defunded, you've got PBS defunded, you've got CBS having new ownership, CNN is getting new ownership.
They admit it. The government is not supposed to, quote, reshape the independent press at all. And you don't need to be a constitutional scholar to remember why this is the very First Amendment, the one that so many people are familiar with. There's a bunch of other sort of less important amendments, and certainly the founders didn't put first. Because a democracy governed with the consent of the public needs free speech for the public, the candidates and the people they rely on, or you don't really have a democracy at all. That's how serious this is. That's what ABC is up against. And so they are taking a rare step here to suing the government, the Trump administration. And remember, if you're thinking, well, that's unusual, right? It is, because news networks usually go out of their way to try to remain both neutral in fact and certainly in how they'll be perceived. And so if you are suing and thus criticizing the government, not as part of your news coverage, but kind of as part of the arm of your station, well, you risk people saying, oh, I guess they really are against the government. That's what's happening. And it wouldn't have happened without Jimmy Kimmel's brave stand, where he risked his whole career saying he wouldn't just give in and say whatever they wanted him to say. And then eventually ABC found its strength. Now, that is my observation. If you follow this show closely, you might recall I practiced First Amendment law before I came in full time to this network. But here's how the New York Times put it today. The ABC lawsuit is, quote, unusual for this reason, a rare example of a major media organization suing the administration over its unrelenting campaign to punish the press through regulation and lawsuits. And of course, it is usually Trump and his many lawyers who are suing everybody else. In fact, you can see there's many different cases we've tracked against media companies, the tech companies, which increasingly matter in media, right? YouTube is a platform, and on the left, so many outlets, including the Rupert Murdoch-owned Fox News sister paper, The Wall Street Journal. Trump's suing them all, and usually on nights like this, I'm here reporting to you about what those companies have to say in response in court. But tonight, I'm telling you about how they are picking the fight, so to speak, why they are bringing the FCC to court. And again, that's only because Kimmel fought and he won, and ABC found that something a lot of liberals were saying, frankly, from day one of this experiment, giving in only makes it worse. If you are right, if the law is on your side, and I don't mean in a liberal or conservative way, liberals just happen to be the ones to point this out, but if you are right about the First Amendment and free speech, then yeah, you better fight, not give in. What do you see as important in ABC taking a relatively rare step of suing the Trump administration over free speech?
Well, it's a pretty straightforward and bold declaration, right? If you look at the first two words of their legal brief, and you're the lawyer here, Ari, but it said government censorship. And it defined the stakes very clearly as the idea that a media company was essentially having retribution or retaliation taken against it for news coverage, for commentary, and for satire that the president didn't like. And it said that this rush to accelerate the review of these local TV licenses that ABC and its parent company, the Walt Disney Company, holds, it is this effort, is the means through which, the leverage that the government has to do this. And so, they're saying very stark terms, this is about free speech and freedom of the press in the era of Donald Trump. And I think a lot of other media companies are paying close attention.
Trump's been suing people left and right, which is an inherent conflict when you're the president. It also has been depicted by his critics as very petty. Here was South Park.
All this protesting makes me look bad. Just take a rest.
Well, no, we're not going to give it a rest. All the people here in South Park want some goddamn answers.
All right, then I'm going to sue your whole town. You got that? $5 billion.
It's taken some time for at least some of these leaders to catch up, but now instead of trying to appease, they're saying, fine, we'll fight all this out in court.
Well, you've seen Josh D'Amaro. He's the new CEO of Disney. Watch carefully as what happened. Disney settled a lawsuit brought by the president in December of 2024. Why is that date important? It was just after the president was elected and returned to the White House and just before he took office. And it then was followed by a series of other media companies and digital media companies essentially trying to sue for peace as well by striking settlements of some of these deals. And it doesn't seem to have really won them much peace. ABC looking at these investigations of it on DEI grounds, looking at investigations of whether it's violated the public interest or equal time obligations, arguing that the FCC has behaved in bad faith here, is saying, ultimately we're going to defend this on free speech grounds. And I think it's worth pointing out again, there call it 200, local stations affiliated with ABC. The ABC network and Disney only own 8, but 6 of them are in some of the nation's largest markets, and they return a ton of money to the bottom line of the network that it relies upon. So they're defending a principle, and they're also trying to hold the line on the bottom line.
20 seconds. You think other media execs will follow this playbook?
I'm sort of looking at the parallel of law firms, some of which struck settlements with the White House and some of which are now battling back. And we're going to see how it plays out. But I think that media executives have been looking for others to take the first step. They may be emboldened. The FCC, of course, says it's only acting in good faith here, trying to hold them to the law and the regulations.